has led to so much dislike and mockery were two primary videos. One of Pedro and his Fantastic Four co-star Vanessa Kirby touching him affectionately in a series of clips.
He's my yummy old man.
Yes. I am your cool slutty daddy.
I actually have no idea what to do with this. And more than that, how I find his behavior incredibly creepy and weird.
With Pedro Pascal making some of the worst decisions during the press tour for Fantastic Four, one major development going on now involves how he yet again attacked fans and said some of the most offensive things yet toward Marvel fans.
I showed you all clips of him complimenting women's nails in a way that I find insincere.
Let's see what you got, what you got.
What do you think?
Oh, they're gorgeous and glowy. That's a beautiful, it's like cotton candy with the sparkles. I love I love a manicure. I am dedicating, your nails are awesome. So are yours. Let's see your nails first.
Oh yes, of course.
They're very nice. Yeah, they're very beautiful. And as a fan of your nails, I would like you to show them to me, please. Oh, come on, please.
There's something seriously off about Pedro Pascal lately, and people are finally starting to notice. He's been Hollywood's golden boy for years now, headlining blockbusters, streaming hits, and franchise films like The Mandalorian and The Last of Us. But with Fantastic Four looming on the horizon and his role as Mr. Fantastic hyped to oblivion, something weird has started to leak through the cracks. Because this time, it's not just fan theories or awkward red carpet clips going viral. It's coming from inside the house. Vanessa Kirby, Pascal's Fantastic Four co-star, has subtly broken the silence.
I told you about how he gets away with touching women in a way that comes across as borderline inappropriate or very inappropriate, depending on who you ask. And I explained how he is being forced on women as some sort of masculine sex symbol, and I absolutely do not like it. I realize I am not the target audience.
For years, Pedro's crafted a carefully polished image. Anxious, vulnerable, one of the good guys. But lately, his behavior has been raising more questions than answers. From strange public interactions to overly familiar moments with co-stars, to statements that feel more like brand strategy than personality, Pedro's likable mask is starting to slip. And with Vanessa Kirby now dropping subtle shade about his on-set attitude, fans are beginning to wonder, was all of this too good to be true? Why is Pedro Pascal being pushed so hard, protected so heavily, and even a free pass for behavior that would sink any other actor? And more importantly, is this the beginning of the end of Hollywood's favorite illusion?
That are just really beginning to actually have a lot of Marvel fatigue and Pedro Pascal fatigue. That is very much real. And like I said earlier, his politics, his overall view on activism, it is not helping at all in the least when it comes down to Marvel and Disney. And the fact that Marvel and Disney allows him to go on that train wreck of viewing, of course, or spewing his politics into the public eye, it goes to show you that they really don't care at all.
It's almost impossible to scroll, stream, or even breathe without seeing Pedro Pascal somewhere. In just the past month, he's been attached to materialists, Eddington, and the highly anticipated Fantastic Four. And that's not even counting his ongoing commitments to The Mandalorian, The Last of Us Season 2, the Grogu movie, and several upcoming Marvel projects. The man isn't just booked, he's everywhere. But here's the thing, his rise hasn't been gradual, it's been explosive. In the span of just a few years, Pascal went from a character actor to the face of multiple billion-dollar franchises. It's a level of visibility that feels less like coincidence and more like orchestration. Studios don't just cast Pedro, they rely on him.
Terrible confession to make in front of Gordon.
It's because some of the best men in the world, so they don't count.
And another of Pedro cuddling his best friend and fellow actress Sarah Paulson in London at the July 1 premiere of the stage show Evita. Yes, the show that features Rachel Zegler.
He's become the go-to guy for everything. Sci-fi, superhero, prestige drama, political messaging, you name it. He's the face of it. And with every casting announcement, red carpet moment, or new role revealed, audiences have started asking the obvious question. Why him? And why this much? Because the more you look at it, the more it starts to feel like Pedro isn't just acting in these roles. He's playing a role for Hollywood itself. A safe, familiar, easily promotable face who can be everywhere, say the right things, and avoid controversy. Or at least, he used to. But cracks are starting to show. And Fantastic Four may be where the illusion finally slips.
Bob Iger is now having issues with Pedro Pascal. Just days ago, they already punished Pascal by reducing his press tour appearances and urging him to stop and cut it out with his politics. However, now Bob Iger took action against Pedro in the most unexpected way possible, where he canceled an entire featurette for Fantastic Four that was filmed, focusing strictly on Pedro as Reed Richards.
One of the key parts of Pedro Pascal's public image is his vulnerability. In interview after interview, he's opened up about living with anxiety since childhood, even calling it part of his chemistry. He's explained that stress actually helps him perform better, keeping him sharp and focused in high-pressure roles. And for many fans, this emotional openness has made him feel refreshingly real. Not just another polished Hollywood star, but someone who struggles just like the rest of us. But over time, something about this vulnerability has started to feel scripted. Pedro often says that physical touch helps him cope with overwhelming emotions. He's described it as his way of staying grounded, a comforting response to high-stress environments. But when that same justification is used to explain increasingly personal, sometimes inappropriate public behavior, it raises a few eyebrows, especially when those moments start piling up.
In Vanessa Kirby's case, people were mostly upset with her, noting that she is currently engaged to another man and pregnant with his child, and yet she's behaving somewhat intimately, for lack of a better word, with another man. In the Sarah Paulson case, people said that she looked extremely uncomfortable during this interaction, and lots of accusations of creepiness were levied at Pedro. Personally, I think this is just Sarah Paulson's face.
What once came across as relatable now feels a little too well packaged. Like the term anxiety is being used as a buffer, a shield, a way to stay likable even when the behavior gets questionable. And when you pair that with the way the media treats him, constantly framing him as lovable, harmless, and deeply human, it starts to feel like more than just personal struggle. It feels like branding. And if it is branding, the next question is, what's it covering up? For someone branded as emotionally sensitive and grounded, Pedro Pascal's public behavior doesn't always line up. On screen, he plays the protective father figure, the reluctant hero, the emotionally damaged but morally sound lead. But off-screen, the vibe is very different, and people are finally starting to notice. During the Fantastic Four press tour, his interactions with Vanessa Kirby didn't just raise eyebrows, they practically set off alarms, stroking her face, tightly hugging her in interviews, whispering in her ear, all while she's visibly pregnant with her fiancé's child. In one viral clip, Pedro places his hands around Vanessa in a way that didn't just seem close, it felt intimate. The internet's response: confused, uncomfortable, suspicious. And this isn't new behavior. A resurfaced video shows Pedro casually flirting with Willem Dafoe's wife, right in front of Willem. It starts off friendly, but shifts into something awkward fast. Willem's face turns cold. The energy shifts. Pedro, as always, plays it off like he's just being charming. But how many of these moments does it take before that charm starts to look calculated? These interactions don't scream man coping with anxiety. They raise a more unsettling question. Is Pedro hiding behind his vulnerability, using it as cover for behavior that wouldn't fly if anyone else did it? And what's even stranger, no one in Hollywood is calling him out for any of it. One awkward moment can be brushed off, two can be excused. But Pedro Pascal's list of strange public interactions just keeps growing, and it's getting harder to ignore. There's the red carpet clip with Sarah Paulson, where Pedro works. He puts an arm around her and gently rubs her back while whispering something into her ear. The moment is brief, But Sarah's stiff posture says plenty. It doesn't come off as playful. It feels awkward. And while the media brushed it off as just friends being affectionate, the footage paints a more complicated picture. Then there's Dakota Johnson, who mentioned in an interview that Pedro sometimes borrows her clothes and once joked that she should open a subscription page to post feet pictures. Some might dismiss it as dark humor, but it reflects a recurring theme, behavior that often toes the line of personal boundaries. One fan called it charmingly unpredictable. Others aren't so sure. Strip away the polished public image, and the same actions start to feel less quirky and more calculated. It raises the question of whether humor, celebrity status, and a nervous persona are being used to excuse behavior that, coming from anyone else, wouldn't be overlooked. And yet, public keeps giving him the benefit of the doubt. But that's starting to change, and the mask is beginning to slip. Despite the growing list of awkward moments and questionable behavior, Pedro Pascal remains untouched. No hit pieces, no backlash, no cancellation campaigns. In fact, he's still being praised, cast, and promoted like nothing ever happened. And that's where things start to get suspicious. Any other actor behaving this way, especially around pregnant co-stars or high-profile women, would be shredded by headlines within hours. But Pedro? He gets glowing features, magazine covers, and fluff interviews. It's almost like the media is running interference for him, shielding him from the scrutiny that's become standard for everyone else. Online, fans are starting to connect the dots. There's a growing meme. There's something off about Pedro Pascal, but you just can't prove it. It's become a running joke, that strange feeling people get when they see him interact just little too intimately, act just a little too comfortable, and still face zero consequences. The feeling that something's being covered up. And maybe it is. Because in today's media landscape, being controversial doesn't always get you canceled. It just depends on who you are. And Pedro Pascal, for reasons that go far beyond talent, seems to have earned a kind of immunity, an invisible shield that deflects criticism while pushing his career into overdrive. The real question is, why? Pedro Pascal doesn't just act in blockbusters. He plays a starring role in Hollywood's public messaging. Over time, it's become clear that part of his unstoppable rise isn't just about performance or charisma. It's about perfectly aligning with the narratives the industry loves to promote. He's vocal on every trending issue. In April 2025, he randomly lashed out at J.K. Rowling for celebrating a legal ruling, calling it heinous loser behavior. A month later, at Cannes, he pivoted to U.S. immigration, making a bold statement about fear and storytelling. These moments aren't spontaneous, they're strategic. Each one hits a carefully chosen note, politically correct, emotionally charged, and brand safe. Even his role in those infamous Imagine videos, where celebrities sang into their phones from luxury mansions during lockdown, wasn't about impact. It was about visibility. Pedro shows up exactly where Hollywood needs a clean, progressive face. He plays the game, checks the boxes, and benefits from it. The result? A carefully crafted image of a morally aligned, socially aware figure who never ruffles the wrong feathers. It's branding disguised as activism, virtue signaling not because it's risky, but because it's profitable. And that image has become his ultimate shield. But what happens when people realize it's just that, an image? If Pedro Pascal were anyone else, the consequences might have looked very different. Just ask Gina Carano, his former Mandalorian co-star. In 2021, was fired and blacklisted for sharing opinions that clashed with Hollywood's dominant narrative. No warning, no second chance. Just gone. Meanwhile, Pedro made political comparisons, supported controversial movements, and even publicly insulted people online. But instead of discipline, he got promoted. Carano's lawsuit against Disney even points out the hypocrisy. Pedro's views aligned with the studio, so he kept his job. Hers didn't, so she was erased. That's not accountability. That's selective tolerance. It proves the system isn't built on fairness, it's built on image control. And Pedro, he's become the face of that system. As long as he says the right things, supports the right causes, and plays by the studio's rules, he's untouchable. But the audience is starting to notice the cracks. Pedro Pascal isn't just an actor. He's a symbol, a perfectly marketable package. Latino, sexually ambiguous, emotionally open, politically correct. He fits every checkbox Hollywood wants to. The world, and they know it. That's why he's everywhere. Not just because he's talented, but because he's useful. Studios don't just cast Pedro to act. They cast him to represent, to signal virtue, modern values, and emotional sensitivity, all while maintaining mass appeal. He can be edgy, quirky, even a little inappropriate, as long as he never steps out of line politically. Even his behavior with Vanessa Kirby may be part of a calculated play, pushing boundaries just enough to stir controversy and boost visibility without ever crossing the line. And because he plays the role so well, the industry protects him at all costs. He's not just surviving the system, he is the system. And that's why no one dares to touch him. Pedro Pascal appears friendly, charming, and effortlessly likable. But when you peel back the layers, the image starts to feel less authentic and more manufactured. His anxiety, his activism, even his awkward moments, they all seem to fit too perfectly into a marketable persona that Hollywood desperately wants to promote. Meanwhile, real questions about his behavior are brushed aside, red flags ignored, controversies avoided. Why? Because he's more than just a celebrity, he's a brand. And as long as he keeps playing the role, the machine keeps pushing him forward. Vanessa Kirby may have only hinted at the truth, but even a subtle shift in tone from someone that close speaks volumes. Because the reality is, when everything feels off, and no one's allowed to say it out loud, it probably means you're right to be suspicious. And Pedro Pascal? He might just be the illusion Hollywood doesn't want you to look too closely at.